Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, like if we really want to push the sport forward, drug testing and players can't be making their own line calls. Until we fix those two things, there's a natural ceiling as far as like how far we can push the sport forward.
Yeah, and I just have like a huge problem with like we have professional like I can't go out on a forum and speak out against, like the whole Pat Smith thing. But refs have no code of conduct, And there's multiple times when I see refs like chatting with players and refs like, like I'm walking out to my semifinal match and like a ref is chatting with Lee Waters and it's like, hey, we don't think you refs are cool. Like we're just trying to make way, and it's smart of them to do. It's not like smart of how I am, where basically don't acknowledge a ref until I'm yelling at them. But and I see calls against me because of it. And so I think there's like no code of conduct for them. There's no like, system for them or any of that. And it's really starting to become an issue. And the game is getting so fast that you cannot tell me with someone who's wearing sunglasses, maybe not prescription, and a hat on, can actually see calls, especially off of our paddles. So there's got to be a lot done about that. So if you don't want to put in adequate drug testing, which is a huge issue for betting, then let's at least get some proper. Yeah, I don't think we should be calling our own calls. I think people see a lot more bad line calls in singles because things are going so fast and we're running and we're moving.
Mm-hmm. So devil's advocate a little bit, you kind of get what you pay for. And these refs are basically volunteering, if I'm being honest. This isn't
even fans. They're fans of the sport. They're fans of you guys.
Yes. Let me tell you, I don't have very many fans. Let me tell you.
Well, back to politics that's kind of on you. I mean, you'd be wise to schmooze the refs in between matches, right?
Like that's just like gross to me, And I have said that since I started playing the sport. Refs are fans, and that's a problem. It's a problem that, to me, this kind of seems like, oh, they go for a weekend and they hang out and they socialize and they gossip about us. I've been at hotels and stuff, and I know it's a party for them. Like I've stayed at player hotels before. I've seen them walking from a golf course to the place. So that part, to me, really needs to be professionalized. I'm not sure how. I know money here and there, but maybe you just pay a certain amount well and really train them up, or you start a system of getting, some younger ones in and paying them a decent amount. I'm not really sure what the solution is, but it's something that needs to start being addressed.
Yeah. Well, it's tough. I mean, even in the NFL, those guys aren't full-time referees. I'm sure like the head referee is, but like, they all have full-time jobs.
I don't know if you can football. Like prevent somebody from being a fan, right? Like you're going to go into reffing baseball or pickleball or NFL or whatever, or tennis, because you do enjoy the sport. But I do think what you mentioned is you can probably put some procedures around it, right? Like, sure, you can be the biggest stalker fan that you want, but as soon as you post some picture of you with your favorite player, like you're done. It needs to be like you were an accountant before, right? When we were accountants, when we were auditors, you need to be impartial in both fact and appearance, right?
Yes.
So you need to make sure that you're not posting, Ron Ponder's not posting his picture at somebody's birthday party or something, right? And I just say Ron because he's one of the more outspoken and out there referees. So there are some procedures that could be put around it. I just think as well, why not we have two referees on center courts, right? One of them is watching the kitchen.
Supposedly.
What does the other one do?
Well, they're both watching the kitchen, but let me tell you, I go back and I watch a lot of kitchen faults now. Like I was playing one match and there were multiple missed calls that totally could have altered it. And there was another match where luckily we ended up winning the point. And I'm like, I would love to see this kitchen cam because someone came across for a poach and like right over the line. I'm like, at this point, if you guys are really looking at kitchen faults, I need to start seeing some kitchen faults,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And when you have people maybe like 5'8" and like shorter, they're constantly reaching in and they're getting stuff, that's a key for me. Or you constantly hear them putting their paddle down on the kitchen line. That's a key for me, that there's eventually going to be a kitchen fault. Not one was called. So I'm not really sure. And I just equated to the game going really fast. And if there's no penalties and there's no code of conduct for any of this, like, what's your pressure to make the right call?
Yeah. I'm glad I escaped the under 5'8" thing. I'm 5'8.5" for anybody who's wondering. But
I don't know if you did.
No. She wasn't talking about me. I'm 5'8.5". She was talking about
I look for them all the time now, and I see them quite a bit. And I remember like a match, I was talking to somebody, someone hit an Ernie, and everyone on the stream called it, you know. And I'm not trying to bash them. I'm just saying there's no procedures or there's no protocols. And it seems like every week, like on Jimmy's podcast the other week, he was talking about it. And then this weekend, multiple things happened and they were talking about it. And just for me, like when I walk up to a court and I see a ref like this and like chatting with two players and laughing, that's completely and utterly inappropriate. And it should not be happening. It didn't even happen in my high school volleyball matches.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, when we go to a court, we pretty much immediately know whether we have a ref that's very good at their job or a ref that's not as good at their job, right? Like, we know who the good refs are, and there are certain ones, you know, okay, this match, like if you've got Big Mike on your court, right? He really only does, I haven't seen him at a PPA in a while. He really does MLP.
Yeah, he never does. Yeah.
As a majority. Like, you know, you're not getting away with any foot faults. And that's exactly, that's what we all want. And so, I mean, I've said it before on this podcast, I do not care if the referee even really knows the rules of pickleball. If they can catch a foot fault and potentially there's a second ref that's looking at lines. I don't think any of the players, we all know the rules to a certain extent. And if we have a rules argument, we're going to go to the head ref anyway. We just want somebody who's going to call the kitchen. And so there are good refs. There are refs that aren't good at that. I think what we need to do is attract more people or make the job more attractive for people who have the ability to call good kitchen and call lines. And right now the job isn't attractive to that. It's mostly attracting retired people who maybe don't have as good of a vision. I mean, we're just going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only one really getting paid is Don Stanley. And whenever I have Don on my court, I've never left a match being like, Don was super biased against me. I've never left a match being like he missed something. If he did, like, it wasn't huge. He's on his foot faults. And I think I never see Don sitting around chatting with people. I never see Don sitting around chatting with the opponents before. So obviously, like, he's getting paid right and he's following a certain line of professionalism.
Yeah. So maybe that's like, you know, that's going to be very, very difficult to do for an entire tournament where there's a round of 64 women and round of 64 men going on at the exact same time. Maybe at least we say, hey, look, every match has referees, but for the important matches at the end of the day, like, let's get our good refs that we know are legit in for those matches at least, right?
Yeah, and I want a grievance system. Like, I want, in one of my quarterfinals matches, I got an overrule that was huge on a huge point where I have the replay and it's definitely out, and that altered the match. And things like were said by the ref that were super inappropriate. And I want a grievance system. I want to know how I can file a complaint and you can see that complaint and that adds up. Because right now it's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Like, you know, and that's not the way real life works. If I messed up on something at a real job, like, there was a protocol, you know, there was a 3 strikes, you're out, or you had to go meet with HR, like a code of conduct as well. And we're just getting to that point in the sport that I really believe that we need to start addressing that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like some sort of feedback system from the players to
absolutely.
Maybe it goes up to Don, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, because if there's nothing holding you accountable, like if, like it's, I felt like we have sponsors, we have fans, we have stuff that holds us accountable to a certain level of what we do and everyone does at their job. So if you have nothing holding you accountable, what's the standard of like trying to succeed or anything?
In the midst of all these conversations about hot paddles, the conversation actually turned to eyewear protection and whether it's necessary in pickleball. And it seems to be the consensus that there is a greater need for eye protection than ever before. So we recently partnered with Tifosi, which is Tifosi. It's the Italian word for super fan. And that's exactly who they make their eyewear for. Tifosi Optics designs sunglasses that allow you to get out and live your passion. Tifosi Glide technology allows the frame to slide on comfortably and provides an anti-bounce fit with an integrated hinge, ensuring these sunglasses slide on easily without pulling your hair. Crafted from shatterproof polycarbonate, these lenses not only reduce glare but also offer scratch resistance, ensuring unparalleled eye protection. Hydrophilic rubber nose pads that increase grip the more you sweat, so glasses will stay secure during even the most intense activities. That part's really key, I think. TifosiOptics.com, Tifosi optics.com. All caps DINK20 will get you 20% off. So go get yourself some shade, some eye protection. Paddles are hotter than ever.
Yeah.